Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to the Alchem Laboratories Q2 FY22 earnings conference call, hosted by Motilal Oswal Financial Services Limited. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode, and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star then 0 on your touchtone phone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Tushar Manudhane from Motilal Oswal Financial Services Limited. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thanks, Faizan. Welcome to 2Q FY22 earnings call of Alchem Laboratories. From the management side, we have Mr. Sandeep Singh, Managing Director, Mr. Rajesh Dubey, Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Amit Ghare, President, International Business, Mr. Yogesh Kaushal, President, Chronic Division, and Mr. Gagan Borana from Investor Relations. Over to you, Gagan, for the opening remarks.
Thank you, Tushar. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for Alchem Laboratories Q2 FY22 earnings call. Earlier during the day, we have released our financial results and investor presentation, and the same are also posted on our website. Hope you have had a chance to look at it. To discuss the business performance and outlook going forward, we have on this call the senior management team of Alchem. Before I proceed with this call, I would like to remind everyone that this call is being recorded and the call transcript will be made available on our website as well. I would also like to add that today's discussion may include forward-looking statements and the same must be viewed in conjunction with the risks that our business faces. After the end of this call, if any of your queries remain unanswered, please feel free to get in touch with me. With this, I would like to hand over the call to Mr. Sandeep Singh to present the key highlights of the quarter gone by and strategy going forward. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Gagan. Thanks a lot. Yes, so good evening, everyone. I would like to thank all of you for joining us today for our second quarter earnings call. For the quarter 2 FY 2020 has been a healthy quarter for the company during this quarter and for the company year on year as well. Year on year revenue growth of about 18% and net profit grew by 15%. During the quarter, we also generated healthy cash flows, which has helped us further strengthen our balance sheet with net cash position of about 1,150 crores as on 30th September 2021. Talking about our India business, it registered a growth of close to 26% year on year during the quarter and 43% for the half year, which was majorly driven by strong volume-led growth in our acute therapy areas of anti-infectives, vitamins, minerals, and nutrients, pain management, and gastro as well. Most of our large mega brands continue to outperform in their respective markets, thereby maintaining their leading positions. Our chronic portfolio also deserved a market-beating performance with an increase in market share and improvement in market rankings. Our growth rate in chronic therapy areas of neuro, derma, and anti-diabetes was more than 30% for the first half of the year as per IQVIA data, which is more than double the therapy growth rate. Our trade generic business also grew well in the quarter, thereby carrying on the momentum of the last financial year. During the quarter, we launched our Pulmocare division with focus to improve our presence in the respiratory segment. Moving on to our international business, our US business with the quarterly sales of $83 million was almost flat year on year and quarter on quarter. The significant pricing pressure that we witnessed in our base portfolio was largely offset by new product launches, which included limited competition products like ibuprofen plus famotidine. During the quarter, we filed 6 ANDAs with US FDA and we received 7 approvals. Apart from the US, our other international businesses delivered a robust year-on-year growth of 27% with good performance in Australia, Chile, and UK. Updating on our progress in biosimilar segment, during the quarter we launched 2 products in India market, Denosumab and Romiplastin, and have plans to further expand our portfolio going ahead. We are also making good progress towards taking some of these products to regulated markets over the next 5 years, which would be the key to unlocking a potential in the biosimilar segment. In terms of regulatory inspections during the quarter, we had a remote and virtual US FDA inspection of a bioequivalent center at Taloja, which was successfully closed without any observations. Also, all our manufacturing facilities supplying to the US, with the exception of St. Louis, has an EIR as on date. A new manufacturing facility at Indore is awaiting pre-approval inspection by the US FDA. With this, I would like to open the floor for Q&A. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on their touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. Reminder to the participants, anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 at this time. The first question is from the line of Saion Mukherjee from Nomura. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks and good evening. Sandeep, can you throw some light on the India business? How should we think about growth? The last quarter had a lot of acute demand because of COVID. I would assume that would have calmed down, but still the overall revenue has been strong. So is there a seasonal pickup that happened this quarter? How do you read it? If I look at from a 2-year CAGR basis, it's around 12, just above 12% growth, which also, looks like a normalized growth rate. So should we assume low double-digit kind of a growth now? So if you can give some color, and also you mentioned about trade generics. How large is that as percentage of your revenues now?
Yeah, thank you, Sai. So there are few questions on that, so I'll answer one by one. The first part is, that yes, there was some seasonality to it, but also we had added people last year. We had restructured our large divisions, if you recollect, especially of our large mega brands. So all that is playing out well. Unfortunately, last year, because of whatever impact we had, it could not play out, but we laid the ground stone. So therefore, I think the growth is also coming due because we are gaining market share. It's not just with tailwinds and good seasonality. And how we should look at it going forward, I think you're completely right. We cannot expect it to have the same growth rate which we have had in the this H1. So overall, I think we continue that we should look at a growth of 12 to 15% mid-teens. Our early teens, we have already maintained that. I think that continues to be our guidance going forward, Sign on that. And sorry, there was some other question, Sign. I kind of.
And the trade generic segment is Sandeep. So I understand last year it has grown. The segment grew faster than your domestic business. How was the growth this year and this quarter so far? And what percentage of revenues is now coming from trade generics?
I think this year also the trade generics has grown very well. It's in line or slightly higher than our other domestic business. And as a percentage, it continues to be the same percentage it was last year and last quarter. So it's in excess of around 15%. It's close to that.
Okay. And just another question, if I can ask, on the other international markets, there seem to be some step up in growth. Is there any one-time sale that is there? What is happening in that market? We are kind of closing on 200 crores a quarter. So if you can, throw some color on the dynamics in the ROW or international markets.
Sure. I'll invite Mr. Amit Ghare to comment on that. Amit, please. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Sandeep. Fine, there are no one-time sales there. It's a combination of 4 or 5 key markets that we operate in: Australia, Chile, Europe, Philippines, and Kazakhstan. These are predominantly what dominates it. But to answer your basic question, there are no one-time sales there. And you would have noticed that in the first quarter and second quarter, the sales are fairly similar.
Okay. Thank you. I'll join back. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Nimish Mehta from Research Delta Advisors. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. I actually missed out the initial comments. I'm not sure whether you covered. But one, I wanted to know the reason for a very high other expense, both YOY, QOQ, if I understand right. And second, also wanted to know what has been the base business erosion in the US business, as in excluding the launches you made in this last quarter.
Yeah, Mr. Dubey, you can take the first part, and Mr. Amit can take the second part.
Sure. So other expenses, if you compare with last year's quarter two, yes, definitely it's on higher side because last year it was just 17-18% of revenue. But last year it was not normalized kind of quarter. Overall, is quarter two is somewhere close to 95% normalized. So I think other expenses, living pandemic period and pandemic impacted time, I think we are in our range only. Generally, our other expenses is in the range of 23 to 25%, and we are 22.5% this time. So I think we are within the range because our marketing expenditure and all these, now it has come on normal position.
I see. I mean, I was looking at the absolute figure, which is probably the highest in so many quarters, maybe 8 or 12 quarters or whatever, yeah.
So if you see absolute figure also, last year's quarter two, it was 420 crores. Now it is around 620 crores. So, but last year's 420 crores, we cannot categorize this as a normal kind of expenditure on under other expenses because marketing expenses, as you know, last year it was not totally on normal.
No, understood. Okay, I mean, I just a little bit pushing on that. So in Q4, for example, we did, I think, roughly 550 crores. And in there you mentioned higher because we were preparing for, some of the launches, etc., etc. So in other words, we were under the impression that 550 is on the higher side. Now 623 is much higher than that. So that was the reason. So so should we consider 620 as a normal range going forward? Something like that will continue being incurred every quarter?
As far as between 23 to 25% of revenue is normal range for other expenses. And that is normal if you see our history.
Okay. And on the US,
Other than just looking at the absolute number, looking at the percentage would make more sense because it has a percentage to sales. Some good part of this expenses is related to sales. So as sales goes up in absolute terms, the absolute cost will also go up. So I think you should look at percentage terms rather than absolute number.
Fair point. No, understood. And on the US business erosion, that will be helpful.
Sure.
Amit, you can comment.
On the US, sorry, Sandeep, go ahead.
No, I was saying, Amit, you can go in. That's all I was saying. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Sandeep. So on the US business, as we have reported, we are about 2.5% down year on year on the quarter two, that is. And the primary reason for that has been price deflation, which is in higher single digits for us, almost pushing to the 8-9% levels on an overall portfolio basis, which has also led to some kind of market share losses in unit terms, that is. So that has kind of multiplied. And obviously we have not been able to cover all of these or both of these losses through our new products, and that's basically the reason for where we stand.
A comment on gross margin would be helpful. I mean, this quarter it is 200 basis points higher than what it used to be. Again, Q2. Or, and generally we are in the range of 60%. I think now we are in the range of 62%. Again, is this sustainable? Because we were under the impression that the raw material price would actually have a negative impact on the gross margin, but there seems to be a positive impact. So any reason for that?
Yeah. Sandeep, do you want me to take this question?
Yes, Subhiji.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, yeah, you said very correct. And this time, gross margin, we have advantage, and our gross margin is on higher side, 62.2%. Basically, when you have better domestic sales, because that sale is having better gross margin, so that is one impact. And in domestic also, our product mix, what we sold, it was on better side. So both this, it has impacted and it bettered our gross margin. Yes, in US, NRV impact is there, but in US, we have positive impact on material COGS. So that also, it has given advantage to us. As well as in US, so in US we sold products having better margin. So all this put together, around 1.8 or 1.9% kind of advantage we got in gross margin this time. As far as forward, I think you must be knowing API prices. Now a lot of pressure is going on that. So it is going to be quite challenging. Second half, it will be quite challenging for most of the pharmaceutical company. But I think we have various levers with us, and definitely we are going to try to normalize whatever impact we are going to have on material front. And our expectation will be somewhere in the range of 60% kind of for the year.
Understood. Okay. This is very helpful. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Kunal Randeria from Edelweiss. Please go ahead.
Good evening, and thanks for this opportunity. My question regarding the US. So I believe we've got well approvals in the first half of the year. So if you can just maybe let us know how many have you launched in the US, and what is the expectation? How many are you expecting to launch in the second half of the year?
Amit, over to you, Amit. I think you're best suited to answer this.
Sure. Of the 12, we had 2 tentatives, obviously, so those are obviously out of question from launch perspective. I think of the remaining 10, we have been able to launch 8 of them, so far. So that's the answer to your first question. What was your second question?
And how many approvals or launches can we expect in the second half of the year?
Right. So I gave you the answer so far, and the 2 other, which were approved, we launched those also. So that certainly will, make it to 10. By the end of the year, we are hoping that we launch at least 12. So we are expecting 3 to 4 more launches for the remaining 4 months.
Sure. And any kind of limited competition expectation?
Not really. Not really.
Right. Sure. So my second question is on the domestic business. Your turnaround has been very strong, but now with COVID largely behind, and assuming there's no third wave, so would you like to call out any of the therapies or brand that may see a slowdown because it has benefited a lot during COVID?
Yeah. So, this is, I think that's built up on the first question of Sayan, and I'm happy to answer it. So, yes, because of COVID, I think we had certain, obviously tailwinds and, coming out of a low base last year. So I think there might be some slowdown in nutritions and multivitamins and things like that, or maybe even antibiotics, because this time the doctors did prescribe in a lot of antibiotics, also curing secondary infections. So there might be a slowdown, but we don't see a dramatic, kind of a shift downwards, because I think, we are very good to have this growth rate of, what we maintain, like mid-teens kind of. So yes, nutrition, to answer you, straight, might see some slowdown, but I think awareness has also gone up, so it might not be very, very significant, honestly.
Okay. And just one more, if I can squeeze in. So the tax rate was fairly low in the quarter. So if the reasons behind it, your expectations for FY22 and for 23, that would be very helpful.
Sure. Mr. Dubey, I think you can take this.
Yeah, sure, sir. Yes, you are very right. For the quarter, it looks on very lower side. But actually, we need to see effective tax rate for the year. So earlier, our guidance was tax rate between 13 to 15% kind of. As we are talking, actually, we have better domestic sale, and domestic sale around 65 to 70% we cater from our Sikkim plant, which is having fiscal benefit. So that profit is exempted from tax. And that is the reason why it has changed dynamics of effective tax for entire year. And now we are revising our effective tax rate guidance for the year from 13 to 15%. Now our new guidance is somewhat close to 10 to 11%. And since in our quarter one, normal tax it has gone because by that time situation was not very clear. So impact of YTD it has come in quarter two, and that is the reason why we see 4% kind of effective tax in quarter two. So, but when you see half year, it is somewhere close to 9%.
Perfect. Thank you very much and all the best.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Prakash from Axis Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi, good evening. My first question is a clarification. So, I think Sandeep mentioned that there have been a lot of initiatives in adding people, restructuring mega brands, etc. Apart from the seasonality and some of the COVID benefits that have come through. So, having that initiatives taken, do we say that, okay, I mean, obviously that high growth is behind us, but as one of the participants also said, 10-12% growth is still doable given we are seeing growth across the new launches, chronic, etc. Would that be a fair thing to expect?
So, given 12% on what? So the first answer is yes, but you mean to say for the balance of the year, for the full year, next year?
Yes, sir. Second half of the year, which.
Yeah, for sure, Prakash. Yeah, definitely for both of them. But I just clarifying. Yes, we will. We can maintain that very well.
Okay, fair enough. And again, on trade generics, you mentioned the share is 15% plus, or the growth is 15% plus, or both are 15%.
No, the share, both, obviously, because I said the growth is in line with our domestic business, or slightly higher. So yes, both of them are.
Okay. And given the very strong cash flow that you are doing for the last 2 years now, and the cash pile up of more than 1,000 plus crores, and with the backdrop that many, chronic side, especially diabetes, there are a lot of brands getting off patented, they would be available for sale. One of the participants, one of the companies in the morning call, said that we will be buying few of the brands. So what is our strategy in terms of like chronic, where we are growing very healthily, but on a very small base? Are we open to buying some of the brands?
Yeah, Prakash, so we are open to buy and acquire some brands, but I just think the likelihood of it happening, I would still say low because we don't. I mean, we are conservative. We don't like to overpay. I'm not saying that others overpay, but we are pretty cautious. So I would not count on that completely. I think we maintain that we will grow our business organically, what we have done. Chronic business growing by 30% in this quarter is a good sign, even though it's on a low base. But again, I'll mention that we have started to do very well in some of the segments, and Yogesh maybe can throw some light on it if required, but I'm not sure whether that's part of the question. But we have done well in some of the launches we have done. So we are not desperate to acquire something, honestly, on the chronic side. Now, if you so Prakash, what's your question? Your question is
so how do we plan to scale up further on the chronic side? I mean, obviously on a low base we are growing very strongly. Yeah, is there a plan to
do it organically?
Add more muscle?
No, we might. Sorry. So we'll not acquire it, Prakash. Most likely we'll not. We are looking out, but if we get something at a, valuation which we think is, makes sense to us, we will. But, we'll continue to be aggressive on the chronic side. We have some green shoots visible in the last 1 year. And Yogesh, maybe you could comment on that, but, Yogesh is aggressive. He's adding, we are doing extremely well. We might add a few people here and there next year, but I think we are doing good. Yogesh, do you want to comment on that?
No, Sandeep, you rightly said that, post-patent, all those brands which are coming out of patent may not be a good business proposition because the prices go down by almost, 1/5 or 1/4 of the original price. So buying those brands instead, as you rightly said, that we have an aggressive approach towards launching those molecules and make them big instead of acquiring others and then do a firefighting and, managing those base, which is going to slow down by at least 1/4 of the original cost. So instead you launch those molecules and make them big, and we have demonstrated this in last couple of years. So we are pretty confident that all those molecules we will launch in diabetes and cardiac areas and make them big. That is our approach. So as Sandeep said, organic will be our way of, developing chronic business.
Perfect. Great. Helpful. And last question for Dubey on, he mentioned about good gross margins on sales mix and product mix in US, sales mix higher India, and also cautioned on the going forward raw material and all those costs which are increasing. But on the EBITDA front, since we are talking about double-digit growth, also we had good launches in the US. Do we maintain our 20 to 21% margin guidance, or despite the beat, is there a scope for increase?
Yeah, Prakash, you are on dot. I was expecting this question from your side. So, EBITDA margin, if you see for quarter, it is 22.5%. And as I talk to you, similar gross margin maintaining going forward, it will be a big task for us. And still, we believe whatever guidance we have given you earlier, we will be in that range only. So not 21%, but somewhere around 20%, I think we still believe we'll be able to achieve.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Reminder to the participants, anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1. The next question is from the line of Gaurang Sakare from Motilal Oswal. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. Thank you for taking my question. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, you are.
Yes, you are.
So I just wanted to ask you about the market share that our company has in Duexis, and what would be your outlook on the same?
Amit, do you want to take that, Amit?
Sure. Difficult to determine what kind of market share we have on Duexis, because ultimately you need to refer to IQVIA to get the market share. We are estimating somewhere in the 20%, 25% range. And sorry, what was the second question related with that?
So I was asking on the outlook on the same. So how do you see the market share going there?
Right. We have obviously 3 competitors who have come in. Including us 3 now. So there's authorized generic and another generic has come in. So, we hope to maintain our market share at least.
Okay. Thanks. Second one on the number of MRs. Can you give the split between MRs for acute therapy and chronic therapy separately?
I will answer this, Sandeep.
Yeah, please, Yogesh. Go ahead. Thank you.
So our acute is around 80% of our field force, and chronic is around 19 to 20%. Total,
Okay.
Yeah, total we are around 10,500. So out of which 80 is acute and 20 is chronic.
Okay. Thanks a lot, sir. And one more thing. So basically, I just wanted to ask on your growth breakup in domestic formulations business, like price, volume, and new launches. for second quarter of FY22 and maybe for the first half as well, if you can.
So our first, Yogesh, maybe you can, Yogesh, go ahead. I was taking your name.
Our volume growth is 17.8%, price is 3.9, and the new product introduction is 2.8.
Okay. And on the capex side, so what would be the capex in till date in the year, and what would be your guidance for FY22?
So,
Mr. Dubey, you can take that.
sure, yeah. So, for half year, we are somewhere close to 200 crores, which cash it has gone in capex. We expect somewhere around 450 to 500 by year end. We are trying to optimize that, but I think we'll be in the range of 450 to 500.
And so basically this margin would be all towards maintenance, or some of it would be growth capex, not margin minus.
It's a mixed kind of, and maintenance capex as well as expansion is also there, and it is all across. It is all domestic as well as international requirement. So even some capex in the R&D also. So it is all across.
Okay. And one last thing on the last participants, when you explained the tax rate guidance, so I just wanted to know, so this Sikkim facility, the benefit that we are receiving as far as taxation is concerned, so how long do you think that will continue beyond FY22?
So actually, till the assessment year 26-27, that is March 26, we are going to have this advantage.
Okay. Thanks a lot, sir. Thanks a lot. Thanks for answering my questions.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Yash Tanna from iThought PMS. Please go ahead.
Hi team, am I audible?
Yes, you're audible, Yash. Go ahead.
So we come to know from the annual report and the AIOCD reports that most of our top 10 brands, which are 100 crore plus sales, they are mainly in therapies of anti-infectives, gastro, VMN. So my question is, do we have 100 crore plus brands in the chronic therapies as well? And if yes, how many? And if not, when can we expect some sizable brands in the chronic side? And I'm asking from a 2 to 3 year perspective here.
Yogesh, you could go ahead.
Yeah. So Yash, see, we expect at least one brand, Glucoril, which is an antibiotic range, antibiotic therapy, to exceed 100 crore this year. So that's a good news from chronic side. But we still have a long way to go because most of our brand will be in a range of around 50 to 70 crores, and you can expect 100 crore brand in another 2 to 3 years time. A couple of more brands to join 100 crore, bracket.
Yogesh, but just one point there on IMS or Equia or EVAC, whichever people track, there the brands are reported not as a group, so there it might not still be visible. Okay. That is something you must point out.
Yeah. So Glucoril, actually, internally we as a group we say 100, but since IQVIA split the SKU also, so in that way, the largest brand will be Glucoril M, which will be roughly around 60 crores. That will take another 3 years to become 100 crores. And we have certain new launches which will also take around 3 to 4 years time to be 100. So from a SKU point, you can say that at least 3 to 4 years time, we should have at least 2 to 3 brands on a 100 crore bracket.
So, and which therapies would these brands be in?
Mostly in diabetology and cardiology.
Sure. Thank you. My second question would be in the last call we spoke that we have 3 biosimilars launched in India and now 2 more as you mentioned in the opening comment. And you also said that you would out-license to Lupin, Zydus, or even globally we would try to tie up with some of the best partners for our biosimilars. So with this increasing share of biosimilars in the product mix, and we are also widening reach with all these tie-ups, we should see a positive impact on the margin side. And if yes, by when can we start seeing this effect?
So sorry, your question is that biosimilars impacting margins positively. Is that correct?
The gross margin.
Just to...
And and how much time frame? I mean, like just a ballpark figure. I'm not sure.
Yeah, sure. So to launch anything meaningful where biosimilars will impact, let's say, the sales and gross margin, we'll have to do that in the regulated markets, let's say. That's a fair assumption. That would take at least 4 years from now. So please do not expect any change in gross margin colors because of biosimilars for the next, I would say, at least 4 to 5 years.
Okay, sure, sir. And just one more question, if I may. On the biosimilars, we have invested around 650 crores over the years, and I mean, how much incremental capex do we need for this segment over the next 3 to 5 years?
I think incremental capex might not be, the way to look at it, because some capex, most of the capex on our usual business is almost done. In the capex cycle, we are through. I think overall we maintain that we do 500 crore capex overall for Alkem as a group. I think it is very well within it. How much now will we do for biosimilars and things like that? I think that is something which we'll keep it flexible, because it depends how we scale the business up. And because we're also watching for some key milestones before we kind of invest further or we need to invest. So I think I'll refrain from splitting it up between biosimilars, biotech and Alkem as a group. But it is not something significant, honestly.
Sure, sir. Thank you very much, and best of luck.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Vishal Thanvi from ValueQuest Investment Advisors. Please go ahead.
Yeah, so my question is on domestic business.
Vishal, you'll have to speak a little louder. We can't hear you.
Yeah, just a minute. Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's much better.
Yeah, so my question is on domestic formulation business. So we have two segments over there, acute and chronic. Can you give the breakup how much is acute and how much is chronic?
Yeah, so we have 85% in acute and 15% chronic.
And in last 3-4 years, the same percentage, or it has significantly changed?
No, not significantly, but there is a gradual change. From around 11 odd %, this has become 15% in last 4 to 5 years time.
Understood. And one more thing, that in your initial comment you mentioned that you have launched 2 products in India. Can you name them, please?
You're talking about biosimilars, sir?
Yeah.
I think that's what you're talking, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's denosumab and romiplostim. These are 2 molecules we have launched in the last quarter, and I think that was mentioned. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Yeah.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Nimish Mehta from Research Delta Advisors. Please go ahead.
Yeah, this is actually a follow-up on previous participant's question. You mentioned that in the US we have one more competition. What I understand is that Teva has yet not launched and the case is still ongoing. And because of the stay on the approval, they may not be able to launch for another 1+ year. So do you still expect that you will see competition, and with that background, would you then see the outlook?
Mr. Amit Ghare, please.
Sure. I don't want to comment upon what Teva's position is, but they don't have any mandated 30-month stay because they were not sued in time by the innovator. So they are free to launch, and based on what we've heard back from the customers, they have started launching their product and made offers, which is why I factored them in the competition.
So they already launched, is it?
We believe so, but I can't be certain.
You can assume, but that doesn't change our stand. I think Amit is very clear that the market share will have around 20%, or whatever he has, he'll maintain. Yeah.
Nice. Okay, understood. And if I may, how many low competition launches you expect in the next 2 years? Some ballpark, 2 or 3 or whatever. Some guidance on that will be very helpful. Thank you.
Amit, you want to take that, Amit?
Right, I can. Very hard for us to say because, by the time you get approval, there could be, 3 other companies along with us before us. So hard for me to tell you, but our aim will at least be to have 1 to 2 products every year at a very broad level. And I also remember the definition of no competition could be very different. So anyone less than 3 is what I would consider as limited.
Right. Yeah. So same here. Anything less than 3 would be limited competition. Right. Okay. So understood. So broadly 1 to 2 per year. That's a good range. Okay. Thank you very much.
That's our ambition. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Reminder to the participants, anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1. The next question is from the line of Prakash from Axis Capital. Please go ahead. Mr. Prakash, your line is in talk mode. Please go ahead with your question.
Yeah, sorry. Am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible.
Yeah, I was just saying that I missed your growth expectation for the US. I mean, I heard there's a base business, high single-digit price erosion. At the same time, we also had good launches. So do we expect stable or marginally upward trend, which we had earlier guided, or how do we see the US growth trajectory?
Amit, you could take that, Amit.
Sure. Thank you, Sandeep. Prakash, I never guided for anything. We only talked about what the history was. And, the quarter, year-on-year quarter has been degrown at 2.5%. That's what I said. But I'll go ahead and answer. So this year, of course, it's going to be extremely tough for the entire industry. And I think on a complete year basis, fiscal year basis, we are looking at mostly flat sort of a scenario, at least at this time, sitting in November.
So not audible. You're expecting what?
Flat. I'm expecting the year will end, the entire fiscal will be flat compared to last fiscal.
Okay. And then we have enough pipeline to grow from there?
We do have enough pipeline to go from there. And even this year, we will have 12 launches, at least 12 launches. So basically, I think the problem has been, like I mentioned before, that, whatever we are losing out on the market share and the price deflation, we are not covering enough from our new launches. So it remains to be seen how it will be in the fiscal going forward. History tells us that we have done better on that count. But going forward, we need to see how the deflation really, does it settle down? Does it come down? Where does it end really for the overall industry? And of course, for us as a portfolio.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. That was all. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Vishal Thanvi from ValueQuest Investment Advisors. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity again. My question is on US business. So can you give us some numbers on margins of domestic business and US business? EBITDA margin or gross margin?
Yeah. Mr. Dubey, you can take that. I think because of the comparison rather than...
We never do some light. We never give segment-wise gross margin or EBITDA margin of our businesses. So we always talk combined.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Participants, to ask a question, you may press star and 1.
I think everyone we are done. So. Yes. Yes, I think that was the last question for the day. Okay, there are 2 more questions I think come up. Faizan, can you go ahead?
Sure, sir. The next question is from the line of Ritika Agarwal from ValueQuest. Please go ahead.
Thank you for taking my question. So my question is on cash utilization plans for the company going ahead. Could you give some understanding on that?
No, I think we have always maintained that, we'll have a dividend payout ratio of 25% and acquisitions, I don't see any large acquisitions happening. So, we are going to
maintain business as it is. It's not that we have some different scenario because cash is accumulating. I think when the time comes where we have really a lot of cash and that time we'll take a call. But right now it's business as usual. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Lastly, on U.S. business, so last quarter we had guided for year-on-year growth of 15 to 16%, and now we've stated it to be flat for FY22. So would pricing erosion be one of the major reasons for doing so? Or we've seen also...
Yes, I will assume so, and Amit could comment on that. Amit, I think it's good if you comment on that. Thank you.
Sure. So, yes, that has been our reason. Our pricing erosion has been in the range of, 9%, 8 to 9% in the entire portfolio. And some of it has also led us to let go of some market share. So there has been a market share degrowth as well. So overall impact, obviously is offset by all the new launches that we do. But like I mentioned, we are now for this year, this entire fiscal, the new product is just about offsetting the losses that we are having because of price deflation and market share losses, which is why for this year, this entire fiscal, I broadly guided that we'll remain flat.
Right, sir. So post FY22, 23, 24, or more medium term, how should we be seeing this US business?
Tough for me to say at this moment. Obviously, going in our history, we've certainly grown at a much faster rate. Of course, now our base is bigger, so we will not witness in percentile terms the growth rate that we've had historically. But, we need to really see how long this price deflation phase is going to remain, because this is a problem for the entire industry, and at least some of us like to believe that it can't be at this level going forward. It will be very difficult for many players to sustain at this level. So at some point of time, it will decrease. That timing kind of remains a bit of a question mark.
Sir, any major reason why this has accentuated in the last few quarters, in your sense?
Your guess as good as mine. I think we talked about it last time also. I think it's COVID and some COVID cascading effects overall. So there's a degrowth in the market itself in unit terms, which we all know. Certainly the therapy mix has changed, or changed in the, from a growth perspective or degrowth perspective. And then there will be some cascading effects because of that.
Right. Okay. That's it from me, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Prashant Kothari from Pictet. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Few questions from my side. One was on the capex front. I think earlier, whenever we were talking with under the assumption that the company had done large amount of capex in the recent few years, and therefore we had spare capacities and didn't need to kind of increase the capex meaningfully. In fact, the capex should have been going down roughly around the range of 300 to 400 crores. So this number of 450 to 500 crores comes as a bit of a negative surprise to me. I'm not sure, maybe I'm not completely updated, but is there any change in terms of our plans there? Are we trying to kind of invest in something new that we had not envisaged earlier?
Sandeep, no, I think we always maintain what we said. The Dubey, but you can take that. So I'm not sure what's the reason of negative surprise, but yeah. If I'm missing a point, Dubey, please go ahead.
No, sir. You have covered it. Actually, we never gave any guidance of 350 crores capex for 21-22. Actually, since beginning, our guidance is 500 to 550 crores. I think we are as per our guidance only, and we are in that range only.
Okay. And second question was on the inventory front. Our inventories are kind of running at a higher level than what they used to be in earlier years. Do you think this will remain at a high level because of whatever kind of supply chain issues we are seeing across the industry, or this is room to come down?
Inventory level is high. It is intentional one, and actually, in this uncertain scenario, even inventory of raw material, we wish we have larger inventory. But as well as for finished goods also, we want to have sufficient inventory. So we grab opportunity whatever is available in domestic as well as in international market. So working capital, we understand our inventory level is on higher side, but it is intentional. I think few days more we have right now compared to historical inventory days what we had earlier. And that is intentional, and we are confident that is going to help us.
Right. Okay. Thank you. And just the last question is on these rise of digital pharmacy chains in India, and even not just digital, but also physical pharmacy chains, which are growing very fast. I mean, do we have a separate division, separate strategy for kind of managing these, let's say what we would call it the modern trade or the internet kind of channels, or are we kind of deploying a similar philosophy, similar channel strategy as we used to have for the traditional chemist shops?
Yeah, that's a good question. So first things first, we are not deploying any special division or strategy for this, because please remember that as long as the prescription is honored and the doctor's prescription has a supreme say, I don't think companies have to especially worry about doing something special for online pharmacies, because the prescription matters, and what doctors brands they write has to be honored any which ways, whether you're any pharmacy or a brick and mortar pharmacy. So it's business as usual for us, but obviously we are watching out, but nothing special we are doing for these things right now.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, Gagan, I think we can close it now, sir. Thank you.
Sir. That was the last question. I would now like to hand the conference over to Mr. Gagan for closing comments. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thank you, everyone, for attending this call. If any of your queries have remained unanswered, please feel free to get in touch with me. Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Motilal Oswal Financial Services Limited, that concludes this conference. Thank you for joining us, and you may now disconnect your lines.